What's up, gamers? Welcome to actually episode 54 of the Battle Mallet podcast. If we were a newspaper, we would give an errata. I said episode 54 so many times last episode, it was actually episode 53. So this is for really real episode 54. I don't know, Deathgorge review extravaganza. For anyone that isn't familiar, the Battle Mallet podcast is the journey of three busy gamers on their way to the Nova Open Convention every year, playing games that they love and balancing life with those games. My name is Jared Johnson. Tonight I am joined by Trace Hyde.
It's getting chilly in here.
It's very icy. Jason Table New Murray.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and good night again.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody has been doing too many webinars for work.
Right.
It's like the standard roll call. So I think we missed it last episode because, of course, we can't do anything consistently except for be inconsistent. So we have another dad joke, and I think that there's only one that really works for this review of ours as we dive into the Deathgorge, and that is, what does it take to make a squid laugh? 10 tickles.
I was going to say, I know it. I know this
10
one.
tickles. So we are stoked. All right, so we're excited because it's a new season, but we're also excited because Jason, do you want to let everybody know?
It's awesome for us, and we just have to go through and say thank you to GW for sending us a preview copy. So officially, we are able to record this early and get the content ready for the day one kind of launch with all our other peers that are out there in the great content creator world. So again, thank you, GW, for sending us a preview copy. I mean, we got a lot to talk about what we've been doing, but I can't wait to just jump right ahead and talk about these awesome decks and warbands.
Yeah, I'm super excited. So thanks so much for sending this out to us. I think this is going to be great. We're so excited to be a part of this larger content creator community and getting these cards earlier. So that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Games Workshop. So with that, this is going to be our review. We are going to go through the Deathgorge rulebook and try to capture as many of the rule changes as we can. We're going to go through the Thricefold Discord and Sirene's Razors. We're going to go through Breakneck Slaughter and Force of Frost. We're going to do our standard kind of Rivals review where we talk about the cards that you want to see early. We'll talk about the fighters, what's unique about them, and then give you our take on their play style, maybe what boards you would want to see or the type of board, and then even throw in some Nemesis recommendations as well. But before we get into all that, we always do want to catch up on what we've been up to. So I will kick things over to Trace first.
I've been painting secret things that now I can talk about.
That's right.
So for the past couple days, I have been furiously working on the new box to try and get some nice pictures out to all you fine folks of those new models painted by other people in the community other than the official GW team. So I've had a lot of fun doing that. I think they turned out pretty good, but I'll leave that to you guys, whether you think that they turned out pretty good or not. And I've been doing that. And what else have I done? Played some games. We've been very successful in our local Underworlds meetup. We've grown twice now, the past two times that we've been out. We've either entertained a new person or gained a new person. So we're very thankful for all the folks who have come out and played with us. I've played a couple games in particular that I thought were notable. I played a Paths of Prophecy Grimwatch deck that was pretty interesting. Getting 2 glory just for playing 3 power cards on 2 cards in one hand was pretty gross. So Brian, I'm sorry.
That's the dream hand, right?
Yeah. But it was a lot of fun. Lots of positioning there. Interested to get some more games in with them because I think that 1, it's a different play style than I'm normally playing. And 2, it's just fun to kind of exercise the brain a little bit. So lots of painting, a little bit of playing, and helping to build our wonderful Underworlds community out here in the North Carolinas. Jason, what about you, bud?
Yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Lots of Underworlds. So at the meetups, I've at Post Nova, obviously we took a couple weeks break, had to build up that cred to be able to go out again. But once I was out and at the meetups, I played Headman's Curse with Void Cursed. That was fun. Really good games. Really enjoy the interactions in that deck. A little more aggro than I like. So when I say aggro, dice dependent, but still like a lot of shenanigans with Void Curse Nemesis deck. Great pairing. But then this last time I played Exile Dead with Beastbound Assault, which we talked about when that deck came out. We talked about the Nemesis. I have yet to play this. Is the first time that I've played the Dentist. The Dentist did very well for me. It was great, and it's such a positional warband with lots of model count, just the way I like it. It made my brain hurt. Some really, really good games, and it was a lot of fun. Both those decks are up on the Nemesis library, so by all means, check them out. Nothing revolutionary. They've been out there for a couple months, but it was nice to just change it up after playing the Heffalump for so long leading up to Nova. Also, in games played, there was some MCP played, and for the first time ever, I played what was it called? Narrow list, right? Narrow.
Yep. Tall.
Tall.
It's tall.
I don't
Tall
know.
is the verb.
I don't know the terminology for that game, but it was
Descriptor.
3 fighters. Normally, I play a lot of fighters on the battlefield, just like any other game that I play, like Underworlds. But this time I played the Immortal Hulk, Ghost Rider, and Doctor Strange. So it was also a change from my normal Avengers. It was a ton of fun. I made one positioning mistake because when you only have 3 fighters, that's pretty important. And Jared capitalized and beat me. But it was a lot of fun. And the indestructible Immortal Hulk is truly that.
He's fun to play.
Yeah, he was.
He's fun.
He was a
He's
beast.
he's a
He was
machine.
awesome. Yeah.
And then
He's really good. I really like him in Midnight Suns because you can bump him. You get a free 1-inch or one range 1 move with him.
Well, with Strange's heal, he works well.
It's very good.
And then other than that, I've been playing a lot of games with my daughter. So as you heard from Nova, Lorcana is a thing in this household. So Emma has now started to play in Lorcana League. That we've gone to that twice now. She's won 2 games, so she's really into the TCG Lorcana. She's picked up Pokemon 151, which is just Pokemon. It's just the newest season. So we were starting to play that. And then tonight, actually, we played a board game that I picked up called Dice Throne. And both Emma and Aiden played. Now, Emma is 9 and Aiden is 5. So when I say Aiden played, I told him what to do and he rolled the dice. But they both had a blast. There was a lot of laughing. There was a lot of shouting. There was a little bit of pouting. But in the end, they both loved it and they can't wait to play that again, which will probably be tomorrow because Aiden has bugged me about 500 times. So, that's kind of the games played over here over the last month, and looking forward to getting back out there because I just got my Plague Rats in from good old Justin, and they look sweet. So I can't wait for a couple weeks Monday to get them out there and play them.
Sweet. I also have one addendum. I did play a Combat Patrol with Justin. So shout out to Justin in our local meta because that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Jared?
Sweet. Yeah, so games played. Played some Underworlds. I think I got out for one of the meetup and played Domatan Stormcoven deck that just worked.
She did.
So Sax Tom on the Discords has put together a Domatan Seismic pairing that it reminds me of the old school Night Vault Magic decks where things just happen and your opponent is sitting there watching them happen. So probably not a lot of fun to play against, but it's a deck that functions well. And I'm excited to maybe explore that play style some more in the more competitive games. But now that we've got Deathgorge in hand, I really want to get games in with the new Warbands. I have primed Serenity's Razors. I hope to get them painted up soon. Outside of that, I have played 3-ish games of MCP. So the first one was actually really interesting. I had been unpacking from Nova, putting my stuff away, and my daughters, Autumn is 6, Maggie is 2, saw the miniatures and they wanted to play. Maggie understands that dice are involved and she loves to roll dice. So I had Autumn and Maggie using the White Queen, Emma Frost, and the Juggernaut, respectively, fight against Ultron, and unsurprisingly, they smashed it. Maggie was significantly more interested in driving the cars around on the tabletop and the carpet and the walls, so that was fun. And then later that night, Kyle said he wanted to get in on the action, so he used Iron Man against the Blob, and had a lot of fun with that. When we talked about our Nova recap, I think I mentioned picking up Miles Morales and Ghost Spider from one of the vendors for them to play. So the next day, we sat down and we played through one turn of MCP without any objectives out, but they were using the entirety of the Web Warriors faction. I think it was like 26 threat or something against 3 Sentinels. So through one turn, you can imagine how that went. The 6-year-old got bored. I think Kyle would have stuck with it, but it was fun. And then the aforementioned game with Jason, playing through, playing with the X-Men with some of the updated cards from the recent release for that. And it felt pretty good. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. So that's what I've been up to. Outside of that, it's been a lot of travel for work, which means that I don't get to get out and play games, but I'm hoping to ramp that back up. So I think that covers it. So we'll
Sweet.
take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the Warbands. No, we'll talk about the Deathgorge rulebook, and then we'll talk about the Warbands. We'll be right back.
And we're back. So here we go. Deathgorge is in hand. What has changed from this season? And for our new listeners out there, or maybe new players into Underworlds runs on seasons. So you have your base core games, which there's another new core box coming out here in I believe it's in Barnes and Noble, which has the basic rules and some warbands. But the season that comes out for Underworlds, like Deathgorge, has very unique kind of rule sets that go with the theme of the setting that with which we are playing it. So every year there's little tweaks to the rules, both from a gameplay and rule standpoint, from a balancing standpoint, but then there's also little sprinkles of flavor. So let's dive in to the Deathgorge and see what has changed. So I go through like every year, go through and highlight just what is different in the book. And you know, in this season that we have here, we have to go all the way to page 25 to find our first new edition. And this isn't really any update to the rules, but I thought it was worth noting that sequencing went from kind of the back of the rule book to up in the front. So like playing the game, right, is on page 24. And then on page 25, it actually has advanced rules sequencing, which used to be buried in the back of the book. And the sequencing moving up here is very important because now we have a lot of kind of out of sequence events that happen. So Void Curse, when you make a Void Curse fighter, when you're playing Heffalump, you do your changing sequence kind of like before the game. So a lot of these rules or events happen outside of like activations and reaction windows. And more importantly, most of the time or a lot of the time, each player has these things that happen. So it just goes in here to say, you know, that if 2 players have abilities that would resolve at the same time, they choose in which order they are resolved by rolling off. So if the rules don't specify, you roll off, and the winner chooses who resolves an ability first. Then it goes to the opposite player. Then it comes back to the player that won the roll off. or or vice versa. But again, like the key distinction here is one ability at the time. So if Trace and I roll off and I win, and I elect to have an ability like my chain sequence go first, I'll say, okay, my chain sequence. And then it would go to Trace and he'd be like, okay, I'm going to have my chain sequence go first. And then it comes back to me. And then I could say, okay, I'm going to select a Void Cursed Fighter. And then it goes back to him and he would select a Void Cursed Fighter. So it is back and forth in kind of the sequencing. I mean, gentlemen, any comments there, as it is a rule that's been there before, but it is nice to have it moved up.
Yeah. I like the moved up location of it. It just kind of tightens the read through of the rule set. I do want to point out one change, and I don't know the page number because you've got the book. But I noted it in the unboxing video. Is whatever page has the tokens on it.
Whatever page has tokens on it.
It's very early, like whatever. It's early.
Tokens and counters.
Yeah, whatever that's called. Whatever page that is. I don't know.
Page 15?
Page 15. So the 2 available feature tokens, what are those tokens called? Cover /
Well, that was the next page. 2 double-sided blocked / cover feature tokens.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you went all the way to page 25.
Yeah.
But earlier in the book was the first change.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I got you now.
Yeah. But we'll get in there later about like there's other stuff. And so anybody that's watched the Meta Watch video, which if you haven't, you should watch it. The interview with John Bracken was amazing, where he covers some of these rules changes too. But anyway, so now the available feature tokens are double-sided blocked cover feature tokens, not snare cover feature tokens. Anyway, moving on. Continue.
Yeah, no. Continue is right into what you're talking about.
Nice.
So place feature tokens. This is the other side of 2 feature tokens. The other 2 feature tokens. The other side shows a blocked hex. So gone are snare on this other side of cover hexes and your available feature tokens, and they are now blocked. And this is because they're just a mountain of ice, and it's cool. Like it's back to the old Shadespire Nightfall days, right?
It's Shardfall.
And then in advance, like just so with that change, the fact that snare tokens are now not available feature tokens because blocked hexes are on the back. There's a couple of things to note. A token cannot be flipped to become a blocked hex token if a fighter is on that token. That's a pretty big update.
I can't trap somebody in the ice.
I mean, I think it would be cool, but yeah, no, we're not going to do that.
That sounds like some really complicated mechanics there.
I think it would be cool if you flip it and then you have to scatter off of it because it like roots you out.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
I don't know.
Also, too many rules, but what it would just be cool to see.
Yeah,
that is not in there. Do not do that. It's not in there.
Don't do that.
And I think another key note to make here too, like now that they are blocked hexes, and yes, you cannot put a fighter in a blocked hex, but like you cannot like sometimes a feature token will be moved or placed, and it cannot be moved or placed in a blocked hex, a hex that contains another feature token or a hazard hex. So like these blocked hexes can't be stacked on. They can be stacked on some things, but not a lot of things, right? Like you could put it on a spawn point, a starting hex.
Starting hex, yeah. But that's
You can't prevent yourself from getting lethaled. That's what you're saying.
No, because you can't go on a hazard.
You can't.
So you
block
can't put it into
you can't put it in a
lethal hex, and which is good.
That's good.
Okay. So
all right, what's next?
Do the tokens stay on the board, Jason?
Well, yes, for the whole activation.
Spoilers.
They do stay for the activation. We'll get to that in the end. But then on 28, there was some conversation after Nova or during Nova on the salvage mechanic. So do you guys remember where like there was some wording that you could only salvage if it was your power step?
Yep.
So on page 28, there's a little bit of an update here. It says, in the power step, both players can play power cards, salvage power cards, and delve. After the power step, it is the other player's turn. So there's a nice little clarification there that in the power step, both players can do those things.
Nice.
Just standard living updates.
Some clarifications. Yep.
And it's kind of the next thing I have highlighted here is the update to the move and charge tokens.
Oh, yeah. So
and Trace, you're a big fan of these because you use these. So do you want to kind of describe what's changed on the move and charge tokens?
I apologize. I was coughing. Muted.
It's okay.
So what was the page number?
It's on page 31. The move and charge tokens have been updated just to match the new starter set. And I know you liked them, so I thought maybe you would like to give a note as to why you like these tokens.
So I just thought that they were different than anything else. As far as like why I took them to Nova, they looked different than anybody else's, so I knew that they were mine. But there's also important new rules activations with those. Do we want to get into that now, or are we?
I mean, sure. What do you got?
No,
What do you got?
Maybe I'm missing something. I liked the tokens, but that was just because I liked them.
No, so just their update. They're a little more clear as like a move token.
Yes.
It's a hex with an arrow and then an arrow into an attack.
Yeah.
Again, just more life updates.
Well, and I think if you're looking at the symbolism, right, when those tokens were originally printed, if a fighter had a charge token, they couldn't do anything else.
That's correct.
They could not be activated at all. And there was like a big do not enter. Mm-hmm. There's a big do not enter symbol, like a crossed out circle symbol on the current, or not the current, but the older charge tokens. So that doesn't apply. It didn't apply in Gnarlwood or Weird Hollow, right? If all of your fighters had charge tokens, you could still activate, but you were somewhat limited in what you could do in those activations. But the fact that the charge token now doesn't have you can't do anything symbolism on it, I think is helpful. But I think there's more to that, as was alluded in Mr. Bracken's interview.
Yeah, so what can we do now if every fighter has a charge token?
You can do a lot of stuff now.
Well, you can, yeah. So you just can't take a super action, right? That's how it's worded.
Yes, you cannot take a super action.
Can't take a super action.
So
you can move. You can attack.
Yep. You could do an on fighter or on upgrade action. But the move is the big one.
The move is the big one.
Yeah, right? The move is the update for this season, right? So, again, want to clarify, every fighter in your warband has to have a charge token, but now you're no longer locked in place. You can, once you've hit that prerequisite, a fighter can move again, and then just like last season, they can take any other non-super action. So pretty big change there. That it is, if you've made a charge action, you can the only negative is you can't make another super action. So you can't scythe, you can't barge, you can't charge.
Yep.
Well, great. And then there's just another one that we kind of skipped here is vulnerable. A fighter who has wounds characteristics of 1 cannot be vulnerable. So that was an FAQ, I believe.
Yep.
But now it is in the rulebook. So sorry, Fish is not vulnerable. Just in
never was.
He's even more annoying now.
Yeah. So, and then moving on, the plunder rule gets an update. This was also mentioned in that article on Warcom, where now plunder, so we had plunder before, but plunder is reaction. Use this during a friendly fighter's attack action that takes the target out of action. After the out of action check, place 1 available feature token in the hex the target was in. So you can...
A feature token, you say?
Feature tokens.
Well, a feature token, and it doesn't specify with the objective side face up, which is what the Weird Hollow and Gnarlwood rules stated.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kill somebody and put a block of ice in their place. Pretend
Or
that you've frozen Han Solo and Kryptonite.
or a cover hex.
Or a cover hex.
Or a cover hex.
Or a blocked hex.
Or either or, it is your choice. Or if someone removed an objective, you could put the objective back out there.
Yep.
I mean, I think that is just, I don't know how impactful it's going to be or how much we're going to see it used. And I'm probably wrong in this, but I mean, there has to be some benefit that you charge in, you take somebody out and you're like, I'm just going to put a blocked hex here. I don't know if I would want to put a cover hex because I don't want you to charge back at me and get
into
Do you know the number of times that I killed Spawn Maw and would have loved to have a friggin' block hex put up right in front of me? Do you know how many times?
Yeah, because it's going to block that's going to block a lot of line of sight.
Yeah.
Like for ranged attacks. It's going to prevent, or you could do a knockback. Oh, no, that's not going to work. You have to kill them still.
You have to kill them.
You have to kill them. But, I would have loved that.
Really?
Go and kill Spawn Maw. And
then now you have this column of ice that's preventing Kindlefinger and Ephelum and Flame Spooler from shooting you without charging.
It's pretty cool.
I like
it. It actually has it's icy cool.
Nice.
Yeah, and just some other interactions that it'll help as well is the Shadeborn will be able to put some more hexes out there. It also changes Fearsome Fortress, the power level of Fearsome Fortress, and Daring Delvers. So Daring Delvers is really good at putting hexes out there, but really any deck that has place a feature token, it now you could deny your opponent the availability of that feature token at some point.
Yep.
And or you can kind of double down on placing them.
That's true.
I think it's going to be it's a subtle change that I think that is going to play out much like lethal hexes revolutionized kind of the way that we picked boards before. I think Plunder is going to be a really cool mechanic in this season.
So I remember back when we played, in the Shadespire Nightvault days, and you'd have Shardfall, right? You'd place your Shardfall token. But that was really one of the only ways to get that out is that card.
Yep.
And now you can just kill a fighter and drop a block hex, which is
it's
massive.
Pretty cool.
It's really cool.
And I think this, now that we've talked about the feature tokens twice and the way that you place them and the changes that are them, if you skip all the way ahead to page 50 and skipping a lot of the other little subtle changes in the end phase, this is what we alluded to earlier is once both players have followed the sequence, clear all move, charge, guard, and stagger tokens from the battlefield, which is the way it always was. And then if there are any blocked hex tokens on the battlefield, remove those tokens. Flip your activation tokens over and a new round begins. So the ice melts and those available feature tokens become available again if you put down blocked hexes.
But if you put down a cover, they stay. Yeah.
Oh, Daring Delvers might like that.
I think
get
Delvers and
exploration points for placing, and then they disappear, and then they could place them again.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, it's going to make the battlefield more interactive, right? So we already had Delve that kind of did that in previous seasons, and now we're kind of back to having a cool little new interaction. So love it. Love the change the plunder rule, at least in concept, reading through this rule book. The next one is, on going back to page 36, going on to page 37, is super actions. Got a kind of clarification and wording change. So let me just read what super actions now, because this changes a couple of times that we've had this. What is an action? So super actions allow fighters to make 2 or more actions in one activation, often at a cost. When a fighter makes a super action, each action within that super action follows the rules for that action. There is a reaction step after each action within the super action. Super actions are not actions, nor are they player actions. So there's a couple cards out there that says make 3 different actions, and guess what? The charge super action. The charge is not an action. It is a move and an attack action.
No.
Clarified
Barge.
Yeah, barge.
Not an action in and of
That's
itself because it's the
a move and a
barge
stun.
super action. It is a move and a stun.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. And we talked about, so then the huge one that we've talked about, probably the most impactful one, is the change to charge. So again, if all your fighters have charged, now they can still make an action to include a move action.
Nice.
Nice. Just to keep on going to delve again. Like there's just that little thing. A player cannot delve by flipping a token that would become a blocked hex token.
Yeah. You can't turn yourself into ice.
No popsicles for you. I think that's, if I remember correctly, there's not, so I marked page 48, resolving reaction chains. There's nothing new here, but it is a new flowchart. So
nice.
I know that there was, there was a very lengthy paragraph on reaction changes and reacting to reactions. That stuff is still here. And then there's just a kind of a clarification of a diagram that shows how the reaction step restarts when there's a reaction and another action. You can react to reaction. It's some good stuff. And then the end phase we talked about with the battlefield and removing those blocked hexes. And then the last change, my friends, very subtle, but remember last season, if you were tied with glory at the end of the game, the person that was holding the highest objective won. Now it is back to holding the highest combined value of objectives wins.
Ooh.
So you're adding up objective numbers again to break ties.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you can hold 5 and I can hold 4 and 2 or 4 and 3.
Yep. And you'll win.
And I'll win.
And you'll win.
Nice.
And then right after the rules, there are ways to play. And I just want, rivals, nemesis, deck building to go with those formats. And on the very next page, there's relic. Oh, wait, there's no there is championship. It's got its own special little box out there, people. Championship is still in the game. Look, championship right in the rule book. It's right there for you. Relax. Those are the changes.
You can find the most up-to-date version of the championship format at warhammerunderworlds.com.
So, there are some other glossary changes too, but no rules changes in the glossary, just kind of updates, like territory is defined properly in the glossary and stuff like that. But if I had to summarize the three biggest changes is snare hexes are now blocked hexes on the back of those available feature tokens, the plunder mechanic, and the charge mechanic. So
nice.
I like it. I can't wait to get into the Deathgorge.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be fun. Lots of interesting new interactions. I'm excited.
All right.
Sweet.
With that, take a break, then we'll jump into some Warbands.
And we're back, and we are here to talk about the Warbands from the Deathgorge box. This, as I mentioned at the top of the episode, this is going to be our standard kind of Rivals review. We'll cover the fighters in brief. You'll be able to see pictures of their cards on our blog to get the full details. And then we're going to cover the 3 objectives that you want to see early, the 3 gambits that you want to see early, and the 3 upgrades that you want to see early. In our opinion, to get the most successful play out of this Rivals deck, probably even in a Nemesis play, because we've tried to pick the most valuable. So anyway, Serenity of the Abyss. This is an Ideneth Deepkin warband with Serenity's Razors. There are 4 fighters. There are 3 Ideneth, and then, as John called it, a battle squid. So we have Serenity of the Abyss, Alethir, Renglaith, and Sephanir. Sephanir, play on cephalopod, being the squid. Their Inspire condition is a pretty cool one. It plays with the Tide theme, similar to the Ideneth Deepkin. I just blanked on their name, and that's really good. I don't play them because of the stupid fish.
Soul Raid.
Yeah, Elethane Soul Raid. Gosh, yeah.
Soul Raid.
My brain just has evacuated the name of that warband.
Fish token.
Anyway, yeah, the fish token. Stop, shoal token. All right, so they inspire. It is your third round in power. Your third power step in round 1, your second power step in round 2, or your first power step in round 3. And what this equates to is that you're going to get 1 inspired activation in round 1, 2 inspired activations in round 2, and 3 inspired activations in round 3. So that's the same inspired condition across all 4 fighters. They have fairly standard elfin stats. So move 4. The leader has 4 wounds. The 2 thralls have 3 wounds. The squid is a beefy boy and a fast beefy boy, so he's move 5 with 4 wounds. Serenity has only a magical attack, and so I think... Is this the only fighter that we've seen that only has a magic attack?
I don't know. At 60, almost 60 warbands, I can't remember.
I can't keep up. Yeah, I mean,
I don't think so, but
probably not.
I can't recall who it is.
Yeah. Well, probably some of the
changers.
Anyway,
I can't believe you've forgotten. I can't believe you've forgotten
the changers.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Somebody right now is screaming at us. How dare you forget? Whatever. But anyway, so range 2. Serenity is a level 2 caster. She has a range 2 damage spell. But the real meat, other than the squid, of this warband is the Hammer Tide.
I'm gonna have to bust out my hammer pants.
You are. So action, place the scatter token in this fighter's hex. Draw a straight line from the center of the token in the direction indicated by the smash symbol. The first time this line enters a hex occupied by an enemy fighter, deal 1 damage to that enemy fighter and stagger that fighter. So you're going to put Serenity down, and every lane in the 6 directions that her hex faces is, just imagine a laser beam. Extending
beams
through the entire board. If at any point an enemy fighter is in that hex, in that line of hexes, because you don't scatter, you just place the scatter token to say which direction the laser beam is going.
Point and click, 1 damage.
And it's 1 damage and a stagger.
Well, the stagger is kind of important, and this is gonna really when you're playing this warband, it's gonna change so much deployment. You really have to think about, it's a 4-fighter warband, so if you're playing a larger fighter warband, you got to worry about where you place your objectives, and you have to look at those starting hexes and know that if I put my objective in any of these lines from this starting hex of my opponent's board, I'm immediately in danger for 1 hex or for 1 damage.
Yep.
Right. And stagger. And the stagger to me is the kind of the silent sweet sauce here, is you're taking a pip of damage away, which we know that most fighters are 2 and 3 wounds. Right. Yep. And now you have 2 thralls that can kind of go in and get a reroll, so their attacks become extremely accurate.
And they're all damaged too.
Yeah. And from my play style from Heflump, right, is I'm losing a changer in 2 activations if I don't place or move properly.
Yeah.
You're taking what Kindlefinger, right? You're just taking him off the board. And that's one of my most important fighters because he reduces damage. No, goodbye.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And
it might be worth 2 Hammer Tide actions just to take out Kindlefinger.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Think it. You say 2 actions, and I understand. I'm gonna kind of go a little bit. No, this will probably never happen, or it's probably not the most effective way. But it's guaranteed 1 damage.
Yeah.
Let's say that you're playing an objective warband or whatever. You take your 4 wound Stormcast and you charge onto an objective token that you misdeployed for your first activation. And now I can kill that fighter guaranteed unless you have a heal. I'm just activating Hammer Tide. And now someone's dead.
Yeah, because if you do that first activation and you've charged, you're stuck because you can't do another move action with your charge token until everybody else has a charge token.
And then it's going to be too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you're probably on that objective because you need it to be. It
Right.
just, it's not, listen, it's not going to be the most effective way to kill somebody quickly. But this little plink damage, and what I really like about it is it just so positional.
Yeah.
Like, just like the other Soul Raid, it's super toolboxy.
This is a technical warband.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, so the Thralls, Alethir, and Renglaith, they both have range 2 smash, 2 damage attacks when they inspire. Alethir gets cleave and a scything attack. Renglaith goes to crit Grievous 1. So
and gains a die.
That's pretty sweet, and gains a die. They both count dodges as successes in their defense rolls, so they're not on guard. It's the Stormsire treatment.
Yep.
So they're counting dodges as successes. And then Sephinir, 3 Fury, 2 damage, goes to 4 Fury, 2 damage with Ensnare when it inspires. But the Phase Ink reaction is probably the coolest thing. And that's after an attack action that targeted this fighter. Stagger up to... Doesn't have to hit.
Yeah.
Just targeted. Stagger up to 1 visible enemy fighter within 2 hexes. Doesn't have to be the attacker.
Mm-mm.
And then place this fighter on a hex within 1 hex of no one's territory and more than 1 hex from each enemy fighter. So you could charge Sephinir in,
Bamf across
do
the
a
board.
thing, and then ink away. Or if it's late game, now you've charged Sephinir in deep into territory, and then you get targeted, and then you ink away.
Well, the other thing too here with the calamari or Squidward or whatever you want to call it, it's not a beast.
Nope.
Oh, it's not a beast.
So if you're playing those mid objectives, you can place them on an objective.
Yep. And he can fly.
Nice. Yeah.
Yep. And he can take attack action upgrades. So his tentacles can have knives in them. Yes, here's my sword.
We thought the monkey with the knife in his tail was cool. Imagine a squid with 10 knives.
It's awesome.
Floating on the ether sea.
Or another item that we'll talk about later.
Oh, no. Oh my gosh, I had literally never even considered that. That's amazing. All right, so those are the fighters. You can see the cards if you want like the full details on everything in our blog, probably on Underworlds DB soon if they're not already up there, and probably a lot of the other content creators. So let's go through the objectives. What are the objectives that you want to see early? I'll go first to give my co-host some time to get everything else in order, and so I'm going to pick Crashing Crescendo. This is a surge. Score this immediately after your Warband's third or subsequent charge super action in the same phase. So we want this early. A, it's easy. And B, I mean, with 2-3 wound fighters, it seems unlikely that you're going to have 3 fighters in round 3. It's possible, but I wouldn't bank on it. So it's pretty likely if you have 4 fighters to be able to pull off 3 charge actions, though. I'm just going to put that out there.
Well, and especially the fact that they're move 4 with 2 range, right?
Range
you're going to be able to charge.
Yeah.
So this is a good card. Good start card, I would say. I agree with you.
Good start. All right. So since you agreed with me on that one, what do we want next, Jason?
I'm just going to go with Mind Erosion.
Nice.
I mean, my mind isn't there anyway. So score this in an end phase. If 1 or more enemy fighters each have 1 or more stagger tokens, just in the fighter cards alone, we've already seen 2 ways to stagger fighters. So,
yep.
Yeah, I'm just going to hammer tide you and make sure I score that in the end phase.
That's true. Because you only need 3 charges.
That's it. Yep. There you go. Boom, boom, boom.
Boom. Boom.
Which leads us to Inexplicable Dread. This is a dual card. Score this in an end phase if your warband holds 1 or more objectives. And 1 or more of those objectives is in no one's or enemy territory. That seems likely.
Who can teleport to within 1 hex of no one's territory if they get attacked?
Yeah. Even if you don't go last, if somebody attacks you with their last attack action, just boop, boop, onto an objective.
And that last attack action, he's inspired. Oh man, that's gonna be so good. And again, just to point out how important board selection and objective placement is. Like, you want stuff around no one's territory, and you're not even playing Fearsome Fortress. You're just playing their deck, right? So
Yep.
objective placement and board placement, very important with this warband.
Nice. All right, so on to the gambits. What do we want to see early? We would be totally remiss if we did not include a push card. So Lurking Presence, this is push a friendly Sephoneer up to 2 hexes. So not only can you ink away, but you can also scoot him around.
Push.
He may
Love
be
it.
my favorite fighter ever.
He's pretty cool.
Is so good.
He's pretty cool.
All right, Trace, kick it to you. What do we want next?
Surging Stream. +1 damage to range 1 and range 2 attack actions made by uninspired friendly fighters. This effect persists until the end of the round or until an uninspired friendly fighter makes 1 or more attack actions.
Nice. Sephoneer, 3 damage.
Yeah, you also want it early because they have to be uninspired, right? So
They have to be uninspired. So the odds of that happening decrease as the game goes on because you inspire earlier and earlier in the phase. So you want that early, and you want to dome whatever 4 wound fighter that got hammer-tided, and then you charge with a dude.
Yep. And the last one is a gambit spell. It's Momentary Vortex. If cast, choose a fighter and push each other fighter that is within 2 hexes of the chosen fighter 1 hex, so that they are closer to that fighter in any order you choose. If a fighter can't be pushed in that way, they're not pushed.
This one
if
sounds
it catches
familiar.
you, if it catches you, it's over. It does sound familiar, and there is no range limitation on this, right? So yes, you only have the 1 caster, and you kind of get a, what is it called?
Center of attention.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And it doesn't say choose a friendly fighter either. So you can
choose a fighter.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Pick an enemy fighter.
There was somebody with scything too, right? Oh man.
Yeah, they do. Yep. I believe it is I think Ringlaith gets scything. No, Alethea gets scything. When she inspire, I can't tell. The thralls are too ambiguous to me. All right, let's spit it right back to Jason. Upgrades. What's an upgrade you want to see early? Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, we got it all. Yep.
We got it all. We got all 3. We're there. We're good. We're on to upgrades.
Be cool, man. Be cool.
So take it easy.
They are elves, so they have 3 wounds on the thralls. I'm going to take a +1 wound. It's pretty standard. It can only go on the thralls. If they're dead, you just salvage it. I love it. +1 wound. Bam.
Yep. Yeah. Now
you got a full wound. I'm sorry. Soul Siphon Oh, that's you say that. Soul Siphon Mantle. There we go.
Nice. All right, Trace.
I'm gonna go the opposite of defense and go offense and say Savage Ferocity. +1 dice to this fighter's range 1 and range 2 attack actions. Full stop. No conditions.
Love that. Accuracy. Yeah. No other limitations. And +1 to this fighter's range 1 and range 2. Serenity's spell attack action is a range 2.
Yeah. They're all range 1 and range 2 in this deck.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, but what happens if you put it on the squid and he's got 5 dice?
That is correct.
Dice.
Yeah. As he gets later in the game, it's 5 dice for 2 damage. And
with ensnare.
Ensnare.
Yeah.
That's gross. But anytime I rolled ever rolled 5 dice, I fail. Anytime.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you want 4 or less, or 6 or more. Don't ever ask Trace to roll 5 dice.
Don't roll 5.
Never do it.
All right, Incredible Dexterity. This is the last upgrade that you want to see early. I think it just pays value over time. Reaction after this fighter's activation, give this fighter 1 guard token. So a free guard action after the activation. That could be after a charge. So you get to stay on guard after your charge. It could be after a hammer tide. So that your leader stays where you want her to be. Yeah, so what are we calling the playstyle for this warband?
I think it's midfield aggro. Like you, you gotta go chop.
Yeah, but it's not like it's not a full invasive.
No,
not like Soul Raid. Like Soul Raid wanted to be all up in.
Yeah, I think they played very similar to all of the elf factions. Is you have to pick and choose your battles when you want to go in, and the inspired mechanic leads to that, right? Like they ramp up and go. they are not going to survive very well just going guns a blazing and charging in, but they definitely want to attack.
Yep. Yeah. Cool. Any thoughts on boards? What's the type of boards we want to take?
So yeah, you want to. Sorry, I'm going to go again. I'm going again because I got it
Go.
right here. I'm ready to go.
Do the
You
thing.
got it. You got the book.
Yeah. So you want to deploy middle of your board, right?
Right.
You have 4 move, 2 range. Make sure that you make it as difficult as possible for your enemy to come get you. So out of the new box, I believe it's called Glacial Tomb is the
Oh, that
one
one
that I
does
would
look
go
good.
for.
Yep.
It's the one that doesn't have any other hazard hexes on it, but
Yep.
no matter what way you put it, you'll probably be able to get your fighters kind of middle of that board so you can attack and be a little
Yep.
hard to hit.
Yeah, and I'm looking like even if you get deployed offset with this board with range 4 or move 4, range 2, and move 5, I think you've got some positions. You're going to be able to get some attacks off.
Yes.
So, all right, sweet. Playing against it. So, Jason, you kind of already covered this with the Hammer Tide. You're going to have to be super careful about where you put your objective tokens, where you start your fighters. You got to watch those lanes that the Hammer Tide lays out. Other than that, I think you want to kill the thralls, right? Like I think those are going to be the ones that end up doing the work. They've got fewer wounds. Attacking Sephoneer just lets your opponent reposition a fighter for free.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say killing Sephoneer is a high priority. It's just he's very slippery. So he's going to be hard to get
down,
I think.
Yep. Jason,
you want to go after him. If you're going to go after the squid, you got to go after him before he's inspired.
Yep.
But I think the thralls are going to do a lot of the heavy lifting. I think you're right, and just watch out for getting staggered. Don't give them free accuracy if possible. Because remember, the Hammer Tide, like they basically have 3 lanes to cast it, and if you're not in one of those 3 lanes, they'll have to move and burn more activations. So
and just note that Hammer Tide does say the first enemy fighter. It doesn't. You can pass through your fighters without any penalty. So don't.
Any thoughts on Nemesis pairing?
Well, you guys have said it already. I think that Fearsome Fortress has some interesting options because they want to be mid-board anyway, right?
Yeah. Yep. They have options for pushes. They've got options for going on guard. So all of the objectives that sit in Fearsome Fortress.
Anything that
kind of
passes
spoilers,
out
but
stagger tokens too.
Do we think Force of Frost or Breakneck Slaughter?
I do like Force of Frost with it.
You just want to give.
You're exactly right.
Tasty upgrade.
that tasty taste. Yes. No, I think that deck actually has some interesting options just from a resilience standpoint.
Yeah.
Which we will get into later, and then also accuracy, and then ways to cast more spells.
Yeah, I think for me it's going to take. We've looked at some of the decks, but I think that they're pretty base faction, right? Like they're aggro. They want to do X and go in and kill things. So I think there's a lot of pairings that can go through this. I think Breakneck Slaughter, like there are a lot of really good cards in there from an aggro standpoint. The Frost deck is good. Void Curse, that is a new hotness right now, and you're only on 1 block anyway. You don't have any range 3 attack actions.
Well, you're already thralls.
Yeah,
so the only double thralls.
The only fighter that would suffer from that would be Sephoneer if you Void Curse him for whatever reason.
So, and then the good old reliable Tooth and Claw from an attack standpoint. It's hard there because a lot of that stuff is range 1. So but
there's probably teeth there, pun intended. But it might take. It's not going to be a full an easy slot in like it was with Gnarl Spirit Pack. So cool. So keep an eye out on the website. We'll, as soon as we can, we'll get, if they're not already there, we'll get Underworld's DB decks up. So that's going to cover Serenity's Razors. I'm going to, no, we're not done.
New player rating.
New player rating.
Oh, new player rating. Good call. We did not talk about this, so we're shooting from the hip here. I'm gonna. I mean, are they silver plus?
I think they're silver.
So silver plus may be a good way of putting it. There's
Yeah,
still a
like-
lot of positional things in there, and they still will die if
Yeah.
you like. They're not a beater warband where you can just go in.
Yeah,
you can't
with
be
the 3
reckless with them.
wounds, So
I think their deck works really well, and the fighters themselves are pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
But
I would agree with that. Like,
Positional nature, and then the fact that you've got 2/3 fighters.
and there's not, so unlike the other Ideneth faction, there's not a lot going on
In the
with
power step.
them in the power step with tokens and
Shoal token.
and you get to inspire each round, which is good. So you're not having to like play for your flood tide turn or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're a solid silver, high end silver.
I think if you're talking just straight Deathgorge and you're a player that is teaching someone, this is going to be a solid warband to say, hey, try out this one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tools in
Fighters
the
helps with
toolbox
that.
there.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, Jason, I'm going to hand the virtual microphone to you to walk us through the Thricefold Discord.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I am super. This is the warband.
Are you tempted?
I am so tempted with this warband. The models are beautiful and grotesque all at the same time. I already have a very fond loving of the Dread Pageant, so I'm very excited to have this warband and play it. It is a 3-fighter warband, and we'll kind of go through the fighter cards here. It is a little difficult because they are so different, but here we go. The leader, Vexmorn. He's a beefy boy.
Beefy.
Yeah, beefy boy. He's the leader. He is a wizard with level 1 wizard. He has 5 wounds. Okay. He is slow. He's only moving 3, but his range attack is 2. But this is where it gets weird. 1 hammer when he's uninspired. That's
One hammer?
1 hammer.
One smash?
1 smash. Just smashing it up.
But how big is the smash?
It is
Oh,
3
it's-
damage. It's
Exactly.
3 damage. When he hits you, he hits you. But it's very curious that it is a single die, and I think that has a lot to do with the inspire mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
So the way this warband inspires, each fighter kind of leans off of somebody else. So for the Vexmorn, if he has no successes in his attacking roll, his defense roll, or his casting roll, a friendly, the coiled Vashtish
Nailed it. Yeah.
will inspire, right? So on 1.1 attack die, if you're missing, at least you're getting some benefit that one of your other fighters are inspiring.
So,
But then,
No, so all right, hold on.
Vexmore inspires Lasavir.
Yeah. So let me jump in. So there's a rivalry going on between these
Yeah.
three.
They hate each other, but they love each other.
And so they cackle and laugh and get juiced up when they're kind of triune opposite fails. So if Vexmore fails at something, then Lasavir, the Bladed Blessing, will inspire.
Yep.
If Lasavir fails at something, then Vashtis, the Coil, will inspire. And then if Vashtis fails at something, then Vexmore is going to inspire. And when I say fail at something, that means they make an attack roll, defense roll, or casting roll that contains no successes. Or if their inspiring fighter is out of action. So
okay,
there's
Yeah.
a triangle.
yeah. So if the wizard lady is out, right?
Yep.
The sorceress,
Vexmore inspires.
the leader inspires.
Yes.
Yes.
If she's out or just fails
Or dead.
terrible, he inspires. Okay.
Yep.
Mhm.
If the assassin, the Bladed Blessing,
Mhm.
is out or sucks,
Mhm.
then
Vashtis.
the wizard, the lady, the sorceress,
Yes.
inspires.
Yes.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, so they're all just laughing and pointing and joking. This is my kind of warband. They're
It
teasing
really
each
is.
other for sucking. I love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's right up your alley.
And then they all have a locus, which makes it even more kind of complex, which is an ability on their fighter. And what's his locus of?
Locus of indolence.
Nice.
-1 damage to a minimum of 1 to an attack action to attack actions that target this fighter if there are no successes in this fighter's defense roll. So if you suck again, you reduce the damage by 1
And inspire Lassavir.
and inspire Lassavir at the same
Oh
time.
man, -1. That's pretty big. 5 wound fighter, -1 if I'm sucking. So
Yeah, and that's a 50% chance to reduce damage by 1.
Yeah, essentially.
Right.
because we've seen this
dodges-
before. We've seen it on Nurgle. We've seen it on Aaron I.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
one just like it's actually more reliable for the -1 damage, right?
It really is.
So
I'll never see it though because I'll just single die crit death everybody.
and if you do get him inspired, or when he does inspire, he has 2 block and goes to 2 smash on his attack. Everything else stays the same, so he becomes a pretty heavy hitter. Moving on to the Bladed Blessing, we went through her. Their inspiration condition. Big notes here: 5 move. So this assassin has 5 range on her
She's so
on
fast.
their move.
That's the big thing that you took from their card.
Yeah, I mean, why would I think that starting on 3 Fury is big? Oh wait,
Still
and
not what I'm talking about.
when they attack their locus, they're always supported.
Yeah, they have an additional supporting fighter. It doesn't even say that they're considered just to be supported. It's an additional. So if you're already supported, they gain an additional one.
Yep.
Nutso.
So
So
even
they're
though it's
basically on 3 smash.
Yeah.
3 smash is basically
So good.
the odds. 5 mood, and that also accounts when they're defending, right? So even though they're on a single block, they really have better odds. When they inspire, they go to 3 smash.
3 smash.
And Grievous.
Oh my gosh.
And keep the
Dunzo.
locus.
And,
and they keep the locus.
So they're still supported.
No.
Man, that's some
Just
accuracy.
missing on swords and double.
And doubles.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
All right, and then the sorceress, she has fly and is a level 2, 2 dodge. So this one, it's a little better on the defensive roll. Does have an attack action for 2 hammers and a smash, but also has a spell attack action range 3 on focus for 1 damage. Her little locus is that if she is adjacent to an enemy fighter, they cannot be supported while they are a target of an attack action. So probably the weakest of all the locuses, but still, not being supported is kind of nice. But then when she inspires, what I love is she goes to range 4 on her spell attack action. So there you go, Hefflin.
On channels.
And goes to channel.
Yeah. Someone coming back at you.
Hey.
Really, really cool and really, really different, fighters.
It almost feels like 3 warbands. Like each of them. Like I like the amount of individuality. Like it really plays into like that they're not a team. That they're just like 3 people that have been stuck together, and they have to figure out how to make it work.
It's pretty sweet.
And I would say people in the loosest definition of the word people.
Well, they are awesome, and so is this first objective, giving the assassins locus, right? So we want a great starting hand, and escalating screams may just be a great starting hand, because score this immediately after a friendly fighter's successful supported attack action.
Oh,
that seems pretty easy. Yeah.
One successful attack action by Lassavir, we're done.
We're done.
Awesome.
Trace, what's your first objective you want to?
I'm going to go with Violent Excess. Surge. Score this immediately after your warband's second or subsequent successful attack action that targeted the same fighter in the same phase.
Nice. As long as you're not doming anybody with Vexmore.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I would just plink them away with a range 3 cast and boom, boom, boom.
I love it.
Jared?
All right, so the last one, another Surge. This is Born of Damnation. Surge, score this immediately after playing your second or subsequent Temptation card in the same phase.
What's that?
The heck is a Temptation card?
Well, did we just pick 3 Surges? We
did pick 3 Surges.
That's crazy.
And I'll tell you what a Temptation is as we move into our Gambits. Heart's Desire. So this is a Temptation. There's a theme here. Pick an opponent. That player picks one. Option 1, you push one fighter in that player's warband up to 2 hexes so that the fighter is adjacent to one or more fighters from your warband. So I look at you and say, do I get to push one of your fighters 2 hexes so that they're adjacent to one of my fighters? Or do I get to stagger each fighter from your warband that is within 3 hexes of one or more fighters from your warband? Do you know who's not going to be afraid to be within 3 hexes of a lot of fighters? Vexmore with his 5 wounds. And now you're staggered? Like your whole warband is now staggered? That is not a fun choice. That is not a choice I want to make.
So we've seen the choices with Osiarch Bone Reapers, right? Canaan's
Yeah, Canaan's has some.
I think the dwarves weren't the wasn't Thunderous Puppeteers
Thundrick
the first.
had
He
one.
was the first, right? He was the first
Yeah.
one to have that like
either
choose
push or
pick your
take a
poison.
damage.
Yeah,
push or take a damage.
Yep.
Even Velmorn, Velmorn has one where you get to pick 2 out of 3.
So we've seen these before, but just for context, this warband has a lot of temptations. I think it's a great mechanic. It feeds into their theme perfectly. Yep. And most of the temptations, like neither choice is good.
Neither one are good.
Yeah.
So. What I like about that, though, just from a gameplay perspective, is it invites engagement from your opponent in your power step, which I think is really cool.
That is cool.
So is there any other temptations we want to talk about right now?
Well, I'm gonna do a different one and let you talk about the other temptation.
You're gonna avoid temptation?
I'm gonna avoid the temptation. I'm gonna say no to you. No to your temptation. And I'm gonna pick Sublime Harmonies. In the next activation, each friendly fighter supports each friendly fighter within 3 hexes.
It's so good. So
the
holy crap. So now you've staggered 3 dudes, potentially, or a whole warband, depending on how far away they were. And you mean to tell me that everybody within 3 hexes of me is now supporting me if I make an attack action? What?
Yeah, Lasavir is not missing.
He's not missing.
unless
traces.
Less traces.
Yeah, unless I'm playing.
Yeah. Yes. Poor Vashtis will never inspire.
So the third card, and another temptation, is Irresistible Feast. Sorry. I was reading and not talking. It makes great radio when you do that. It's a temptation. Play this only if one or more enemy fighters are adjacent to one or more friendly fighters. Pick an opponent. That player picks one. That player deals 1 damage to each fighter adjacent to one or more fighters. We'll come back to that in a second. Or you deal 1 damage to a fighter in that player's warband. So the second choice is, if you say, you deal 1 damage to a fighter in my warband, I get to pick anyone on the board.
1 damage.
Or 1 damage. Or you can let me deal 1 damage to each fighter adjacent to one or more fighters.
Yep.
So that will hurt my own player, my own people,
Yep.
if I'm adjacent, because I am to play the card. But every other model on the board that is adjacent to someone is taking a damage. When you get in that mid game scrum, that could be a lot of plink going out.
Well, what up, Exile Dead?
Oh, I hate you. At that point, I'd be like, just pick one fighter. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate you pick whatever one you want.
It's awesome. Yes. So I'm going to jump right into the upgrades just because I want to talk about false gifts. So
good.
The Helm of Insight. It's a false gift. This is an upgrade, and I love this. We've seen it in Void Curse, but this is really, really comes to life is in this Rivals deck for this warband. You can give this upgrade to an enemy fighter. I love it. This fighter's defensive characteristics is 2 shield and cannot be modified further. So you're just on 2 shield. That's all you're going to get. This fighter cannot have line of sight to fighters that are 2 or more hexes away. Reaction, break this card. resist action, break this card.
Resist action. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
a
an
whole
action.
action to break
Take
this
all
card.
action
Yes.
to do it.
Yes. So here you go, Heffalump. I give you this false gift. Now I have to pay a glory, and yes, your defense characteristic gets better because you're on 2 block, but now you cannot target anything that is not adjacent to you unless you burn an activation to break this card.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I love it.
It's pretty
So good.
freaking cool.
And the big difference between this and the one that we've seen in Void Cursed is you just hand the Void Cursed card to the player, and the player gets to choose what they put it on. Not this one. You say, here you go. Put this on Heffalump, please.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my gosh.
That's so good.
But wait, there's more. Because it does not have to go to your enemy.
You're right.
You can put it on the assassin.
Yep.
And now she's on 2 shields with support.
That's right. That is right.
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
So I love it. It's a great upgrade. What's the next one, Trace?
I am picking Icon of Excess.
Oof.
It is a spell action. Deal 1 damage to this fighter. Regardless of whether it goes off, deal 1 damage to this fighter. If cast, each surviving friendly fighter can make a 1 move or 1 attack action.
Oh my. This is so good.
So you're getting...
Everybody moves or everybody attacks, but I take a damage.
Moves and 2 people attack, or...
Yeah, you can do move or
can,
attack, but it's 3 activations for 1.
That's crazy.
For 1 damage.
And it's cool because I don't think we've ever seen a card where it just automatically deals a damage on, like, it doesn't have to go off. Like, it just, if you attempt
not a spell,
this,
right? I feel like there was wasn't there like a Hungry Blade or something?
Maybe.
Hungry Blade or something.
Hungry Blade did
dealt
one. It dealt you a damage.
It does.
But that was just an attack action, and
remember there are 2 wizards or sorcerers in this warband, so it can go on 2 of them, and there are cards objectives that want you to be damaged. So pretty good synergy. Good pick, Trace. Jared, bring us home.
Yeah, so I'm going to take the Sadistic Epitome. Plus 1 damage to this fighter's attack actions that target an enemy fighter with 1 or more wound counters. So
I think there'll be some wound counters on the board. What you think?
Yeah, I think so. All right. So we didn't call this one out, but I'm going to call it out anyway. So we have another false gift. This is an attack action upgrade. This is the Perfect Blade. This is range 1, 3 smash, 3 damage. It's a false gift, so you can give this upgrade to an enemy fighter, but this fighter is not considered to have any other upgrades or attack actions other than this attack action. So you put this on an enemy fighter and it negates all of their upgrades. So not to pick on Ephraim again, but you've got the like heal after an attack. You've got or heal after your dealt damage. You've got your reroll casting upgrade. You've got your +1 defense upgrade on. Yeah, none of those count as long as you have this Perfect Blade on.
But does it have the resist to break it?
It does have the resist action, break this card. Yeah, so all of the false gifts have the resist
and I think
action.
Yeah, and I mean,
break
listen, three smash for 3 damage is a great upgrade to have in your hand anyway.
Yes.
But I think what you can see here is like you can really take activations where you only have 12 activations in a game. You can take them away from someone or heavily disrupt their game plan.
Really, anybody who relies on their on-card attacks that generate something for their warband, like if it's got like Stagger on it for, Dintalos or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That is now gone unless they react or not react, but if they take an action and break it. So very disruptive. Yep. I think it's a really cool card. And it also works for you if you want to just get another big swingy person out and start.
Yeah, like if you want Vashtis to be able to come out and just whack somebody for 3 damage.
Yeah. Or like Lassavir to have a 3 hammer supported 3 damage attack.
Yeah. It's good times.
Good stuff. All right, so boards. Or I'm sorry, playstyle first. Trace, what type of playstyle you got?
This is control, top to bottom.
Yeah,
Jason's bag for sure.
But isn't it? It's so.
And I'm terrified. I'm uncomfortable. Not only with the looks of this warband, with the look in Jason's eye.
Yeah,
you
just see like Slanesh squirming.
Yeah,
back
there. I'm worried. I am worried.
I'm gonna call the Grey Knights before too long. The Inquisition.
You might have to. Who knew that I was actually a Chaos player?
We all did. You were Dark Angels player.
Yes, correct.
Hi-oh.
Oh man, got it.
Actually, you can't really say that anymore after Son of the Forest.
I know, right?
Can't. Look is so good.
Spoilers.
That's another plug.
But it's not your normal control, right? Like there's not a ton of pushes in this warband because it's like, but it is 100% denial of something.
It is a control in a different way than we've seen before, which is making your opponent make bad decisions that they can't avoid.
Yeah.
It's not about positioning anymore. It is about saying, here, which one do you want? They both suck, but which one do you think sucks a little less at this particular moment?
Which of these two horrible options are you going to choose?
That's right. Or here, it's my power step. I'm going to spend a glory. Here, take this upgrade and put it on this person. And you're like, but I don't want that upgrade.
I like the other upgrades.
To take it, sorry.
Too bad.
That's a lot.
Too bad.
Okay, Jared, now boards.
Yeah, so I mean, I think you kind of need to be slightly aggressive. You're going to need one good aggressive placement. So if we're going to look at our available boards from the thing,
from Deathgorge.
From Deathgorge, yep. I kind of like the Frostrack Ruins. So you got 4 points, right? Like you got the 4 points of the compass, no matter which way you rotate your board. You got one on close to the edge, so that's where Vexmore is going to go, and then you've got some staggered behind that. So you've got, options. The cover hexes. I mean, those could do you some good.
They could. The only thing here is if you're placing first, that board could be heavily offset, so be careful with that. But for your placement, I think that's a great selection, sir.
Yeah. I don't think the offset hurts you as bad.
It's just because they're, at least from
Vexmore might get.
Vexmore might be a little hindered, but Lashveer should be fine.
Yeah, and Vashtis with her spell attack.
And Vashtis should be fine
anyway.
Too.
Yeah. So good selection. So what are you going to do to take me down, Trace? Please tell me.
Take it to the house is what I'm going to do. I'm just.
There you go. Jared, do you have a plan? Because Trace doesn't.
Yeah. So I mean,
yes, please.
The assassin does only have 3 wounds, right?
Yeah. I mean, taking out if you can get 2 fighters down.
Yeah.
Which is really the key. Like, it's a 3-fighter warband. They're not exactly resilient. So you have a 3-wound fighter, a 4-wound fighter that's on 2 dodge.
Yeah.
But, a little bit of a snare in your warband, and you've gotten around that. So, like, if you can get the caster down and the assassin, just please, for the love of God, get the assassin down.
Yeah, try just leverage whatever super accurate ping attacks.
They will destroy you.
That you have. Yeah,
like they will dismantle your entire warband if you just let them run around in your board stud.
Yeah, don't give an easy target for the assassin.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, fast. Yeah. They're fast, and they will get there, and they will hit you.
Yeah, they're accurate.
And from the objectives that we've discussed, like they want to do multiple attack actions. They want to do, they want to plink you down, but they want to do it quickly, and with accuracy from supports. So like they have the cards to do those things. So try not to give easy targets to them, and then just try and control line of sight to keep Vashtis from being able to plink you, and potentially get around some of Vexmore's range too, because that when he connects, you're gonna feel that too. Yeah, that's how I would approach it. Just try and control line of sight. Make don't provide easy targets, and just
Okay.
they're gonna want to be on your side of the board anyway because they're aggressive. So
Yep. Nemesis pairings.
Yeah, this one. So what I would say for Nemesis pairings, the way I am going to approach it, because I am super excited to try this warband, is I'm going to play the Rivals deck 5 times.
Yep.
Because I really need to find out what temptations and what false gifts fit best for just them.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to take those, select my objectives, and then find the pairing that goes best with that.
Oh.
I right away, like the ping damage out of Daring Delvers kind of piques my interest.
A range 4 Star Maw with support.
Fearsome Fortress.
Oh, that's Fearsome Fortress. That's right. Sorry.
Fearsome Fortress also could be a pick, but I think like Fearsome Fortress is just a good, a good starting place for anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I'm gonna go. I do think that the new deck, the Frost Curse, whatever, what is this one called? Frosty Frost Bang. May
Force
fit
of
it.
Frost is the name.
Force of Frost. There you go.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm going to approach it. And I know that doesn't help anyone listening to this that wants to jump right into Nemesis, but I also think it's like this is just so new and unique that I want to play a couple games and then pare it down from there.
I like it. Cool. So that wraps up the Warbands from Deathgorge. We will take a break.
New player rating.
Oh, new player rating. Oh my gosh. I'm just so excited to get through it all.
I think they're silver.
Yeah.
Just from a learning curve perspective.
It's three
I don't think they're bronze. Yeah, it's a 3-fighter warband, and that helps the learning curve. Because there's always the draw card.
I would just argue that
you love all of their power cards anyway.
Their on-card abilities, to me, push them into silver just because they're all so good at their thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, as long as you place them semi-intelligently, you're going to have success with them, I think.
Yeah.
Because as we saw from the objectives, like, they're going to score. Those are going to score.
Yeah, where it seems like they're gonna fizzle out is the back end. They don't have really good, reliable 2 glory scores in their Rivals deck. But if you can get those kind of easy surges to start off and get the fuel cooking and get the temptations, get the false gifts out there, they'll work. And they're resilient. At least the big guy's resilient enough to make a couple mistakes. But if you lose a fighter for a new player, it's going to be a little bit difficult to come back with just the assassin and the sorceress.
Fair enough.
All right, with that concludes this review of the Thrice Full Discord, and we'll be back to go over the Rivals decks.
And we're back, and we are here to cover the Rivals decks that were included with Deathgorge. So this is going to be Breakneck Slaughter and Force of Frost in that order. So we'll kick things off with the Breakneck Slaughter. This has a plot card. It has your standard plot card rules at the top, and then the actual plot card itself is Impetus, +1 move to each fighter that has 1 or more momentum counters. Interesting. We don't know what a momentum counter is. After the reaction step that follows an activation step, for each fighter that has 1 or more momentum counters, that fighter's player picks an opponent. That opponent places the scatter token in that fighter's hex and pushes that fighter X hexes in the direction indicated by the smash symbol, where X is the number of that fighter's momentum counters, then removes that fighter's momentum counters. If that fighter cannot be pushed into a hex, that fighter is not pushed, and stagger that fighter. So if you have any momentum counters after an activation, after reactions to that activation,
Yeah, that's a
then your
different
opponent.
window for us, right? Very
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
it's very
weird.
specific.
Yeah, it's very specific.
Very specific.
Which is
Yeah,
why that
so-
timing thing is in this book.
Yep.
Yeah.
But your opponent gets to push your fighter in a direction of their choice, a number of hexes equal to the number of momentum counters that you have. So you can even force the stagger.
Yeah, just push you into yourself.
Push you into another fighter, push you into edge hex, a blocked hex, whatever the case is. So that's interesting. I'm assuming that there are going to be ways to get momentum counters out. Otherwise, it seems like this is a very silly plot card. I doubt that that's going to happen in the objectives, but we do want to cover those. So we're going to, do our standard thing, looking for the 3 objectives that you want to see early in the game. So we're going to start. I'll kick things off just because I am eager for the fight with Eager for the Fight. So this is one of those juicy 2 glory end phase cards. Score this in an end phase if each surviving friendly fighter has 1 or more charge tokens and or is within 2 hexes of 1 or more enemy fighters. So
How many glories?
It's 2 glory.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. So everybody has charged. 4 fighters have charged, or you're in a scrum, right? That sounds like Eager for the Fight to me.
Mhm.
So, and definitely, something that you want early because you can stack that glory, get the train rolling, and roll things out. It's not bad late though. Like if you only have 1 fighter.
Yeah.
As long as you got a charge token, bam.
As long as you got a charge token,
Done.
or is within
Nailed
2
it.
hexes of 1 or more enemy fighters.
Yep. All right. What do we want to see next?
I have a need.
A need?
A need for speed.
Okay, Maverick.
That's right. Score this in an end phase if each surviving friendly fighter has 1 or more move and or charge tokens.
Well, that sounds familiar.
That's weird.
Yeah, sure does.
Nice. Three glory in the end phase. Done.
There you go. Bam. Done.
Yep.
On to the
All right,
Surge.
Jason.
Gale Force. Surge. Score this immediately after your Warband's 3rd or subsequent attack action in the same phase. Wait a minute. So I'm
Did you say
charging.
successful?
No, just make an attack action. The 3rd one.
Nice.
Bam. That's
Sweet.
That's 4 glory. That's pretty easy, man.
Yeah.
I love it. I like
It's
it.
pretty good.
Let's move on to those gambits.
Gambits. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just see.
So
Oh, you got it? Go ahead.
I love devastation.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I do. So we would be remiss if we didn't include +1 damage cards. So this is Devastating Charge. Choose a friendly fighter. Give the chosen fighter 2 momentum counters. Aha, here we go.
There we go.
+1 damage to that fighter's range 1 and range 2 attack actions in the next activation step. The flavor text for this is Riptooth Kill.
It's pretty
Attributed to Magor Redhand. I didn't know that Magor had a last name.
He does.
It's Redhand.
Yeah.
That's cool. Nice. So 2 momentum counters, so +1 damage to your attack, but you're going to get pushed 2 hexes for your troubles.
Or get
Maybe.
a stagger Kona.
Or get a stagger Kona.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, at least on this card alone. That's
At least on this card alone, yes.
On this card alone. Yep.
But there's probably
All right.
ways to remove counters too.
I hope so. Yep. What do we want next, Trace?
Well, since you're wanting to be devastating, I want to be reckless. So this is Reckless Charge. Choose a friendly fighter. Give the chosen fighter 2 momentum counters. +1 dice to that fighter's range 1 or range 2 attack actions in the next step. So you mean to tell me I can be +1 damage, +1 dice, and have 4 momentum counters?
And +1 move.
Yes.
So that's
And
on the
+1
plot card. I
move,
feel
right?
like I glossed over that. The plot card says if you have any momentum counters, it is +1 move for each fighter that has 1 or more momentum counters.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's not
So as long
as you
cumulative.
have a
So
it's
that's
not
good.
cumulative, but it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Like
it's
you're getting
massive.
the extra move as soon as you get a momentum counter.
So just think about how powerful, and I understand that there is some drawback to these because you're getting 2 momentum counters. So after this activation, that fighter will be pushed to or pushed into something and get a stagger counter, right? But
Right.
each one of these, like the +1 dice, is always good on a ploy, period, right? +1 damage, we've learned to love, especially in the ploy, because early game, it gets you that boost you need. But you're also getting +1 move for each of these cards. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
by
It's two
themselves.
gambits in
Yeah.
it's 2 gambits in one.
In
Plus
one.
1 move in, plus 1 dice, or plus 1 move in, plus 1 damage.
Yeah. Now the move doesn't stack; it's just flat +1.
Right.
But like it's really really cool.
Yeah.
So I think we're just gonna have to roll with the punches here.
Yeah.
Because you guys are being reckless and devastating.
Devastating.
So I'm just rolling with the punches, which is the third gambit. In the next activation, when a friendly fighter is the target of an attack action, give that fighter 1 momentum counter, -1 damage to a minimum of 1 from the attack action until it has been resolved. We've seen a lot of -1 damage cards out there before. The difference here is there's no choose. So you play this gambit
Yeah.
and it sits there, and if your opponent is going to attack, you give that fighter, whatever fighter they select, a momentum counter, which means they're going to be pushed, right? But it's -1 damage. That's really freaking good.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
It's
Just
really
on
good.
tap -1. It's great.
All right, Jason. So let's reverse the order here.
We're reversing the order.
Yep.
Okay. Well, now I have to make a choice, and I'm just going to go with Hurricane Darts because
Nice.
because it's range 4, so it's an attack action upgrade. Hurricane Darts, range 4, smash star, and for 2 damage. The dice characteristic is equal to 1 plus the number of the fighter's momentum counters. Oh wow, that's pretty sweet. So if I have like 2 momentum counters, it's 1 plus 2 is 3
Yep.
hammers, range
Yep.
4, 2 damage, and it doesn't break, so I get to keep this card. That is juicy. I like that attack action upgrade.
That's a good one.
It seems pretty good.
All right, Trace.
Well, I hope that I have this card in hand if you have that card in hand, and I got a bunch of momentum counters because I want some defensive capabilities. Because this is Moving Mark. While this fighter has 1 or more move and or charge tokens, this fighter's defense characteristic is 2 shield, and this fighter cannot be on guard. After this fighter's move action, give this fighter 1 momentum counter.
Wow.
Nice.
So if I had this on the Hurricane Darts, I could charge and get 2 smash.
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty
You're
sweet.
good. And your defense characteristic would be 2 shields, 2 block.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good.
Sweet.
So far, it has sounded like only my fighters are going to get knocked around by this impetus ability. But we got my boy Jedrin here in the card art for Battering Ram. It's a +1 move upgrade. It also has a reaction. After the deal damage step of this fighter's attack action that targeted an adjacent enemy fighter, give the target this fighter's momentum counters. So, your boy Jedrin could come in with 4 momentum counters at 5 move now because he's got this upgrade.
Plus
Battering Ram, +1 move. Plus the +1 move for momentum.
Mm-hmm.
And like he could hit. So obviously you need the fighter to still be alive for this.
Yeah.
To get rid of the momentum
if we've tooled him up that much, that fighter's dead. But
so either you're going to be able to kill a fighter, or you're going to be able to hit like a 5-wound fighter for 4 damage,
and then knock him to the moon, Alice.
Yeah, probably into a lethal hex, or you stagger them.
Yeah, or you push him back into yourself and you stagger him, and yeah, you might take a hit, but now he's staggered. Yeah. It's really cool. I like that. Yeah. And I think it is worth noting here, because again, it is a different operating procedure than we're used to. This is a reaction. So most things in this game happen in Windows. It's an activation or it happens in a reaction. Remember that the plot card impetus goes after the reaction step of the activation. So it's activation step, reaction step, then the plot card impetus. Like, so you'll have that window to transfer the tokens, make that reaction, and then the pushes will take place, or the stagger will take place.
Sweet. So
Gentlemen.
I think the
Ooh.
play style is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Feels pretty aggressive to me.
It's extremely aggressive. This may be from the ploy cards. These are probably some of the best ploy cards. I really like the design space that there is a little bit of a negative that you're getting pushed or you're getting staggered. But these ploy cards are definitely juicy for any aggro warband. The other nice subtle thing here is, plot cards aren't always well received, but having this plot locked for championship, which we don't talk a lot about here, I think is really, really nice because the cards are so powerful. Like if this wasn't, these cards would be everywhere in championship.
Bananas with nothing to do with the momentum counters.
Yeah. So, warband recommendations.
Oh, there's so many I have for this.
Yeah, there's a lot.
This is gonna be a fun deck.
This will be fun to bust out some old warbands just to try and see what happens. Like,
I mean, like
Garrick Reavers of the world.
Garrick's Reavers, Magor's Fiends.
Yeah.
Magor's Fiends fit really well with this.
Iron Skull's Boys.
Iron Skull Boys. This may have enough oomph to get them played again. Yes.
I think Kagras has some play.
I like Kagra.
With these.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's a good, like 4 fighters, I think is probably where you want to cap, or Reavers where fighters are going to die, right? Like,
because Kagra is pretty slow, at least to start with, and this gets around that.
Oh, but they do go to move forward when they inspire.
They do, yeah.
They'd be real quick. Oh, they'd be sneaky quick.
Yep. So you can get some heavily armored Chaos Warriors up the board pretty quick.
Yeah.
Don't forget about the good old reliable Crimson Court.
Yep.
Always stand by.
And Crushes. I think that this deck
Crushes plays really well with this deck.
Overcomes
it's gonna be cool.
Bit of Crushes. Crushes may be back.
Yeah. You're gonna lose out, I think, on some of their hold stuff. All right, the hold 1 in enemy territory, hold 2, like the oh no, because you meet the conditions to score the surges before the impetus ability fires.
Yep, after an activation step.
No, it's after the reaction step that follows the activation step. So activation, reaction, this Inspire Surge.
Yeah, okay. But you met the conditions.
Yeah, you met the conditions.
Yeah, you met the conditions to score the surge.
Yep.
Yeah. There you go.
Even if you get pushed
during the activation and during the reactions to that activation, because this happens after all of the reactions. So so you'll still get those juicy hold surges.
Yeah.
Even though you're getting ping-ponged around. I like it. Boards, as always, you're just going to pick something that matches your warband. So go back if you want to look at that. Playing against this. What do we think, guys?
I mean, that's more warband reliant, but
I think just be prepared for chaos. Really,
yeah.
Like because I've already dubbed this the pinball deck, like because you just don't know where you're going to end up after you do something sometimes, and your opponent just has to be prepared for that too.
Well, you as well. Like you have no idea where at any given time what fighter is going to end up. I think it fits super thematic with Deathgorge and the ice. Like I just picture like a frozen tundra and like all this ice, and they're just sliding around,
sliding all over the place. Yep.
So one play style that you may select with this, and again, there has to be some testing, but you may want to pick some lethal boards.
Yep. So to try and just see if you can get some extra cheeky push damage.
Yeah. Well,
so if you throw the momentum counters on your opponent and push them into lethals.
Yeah, or even as a defense, right? Like, okay, there's only so many ways to pass the momentum counters to me. Like, now you're coming in, and I'm going to push you into a lethal for...
Oh, I see. Yeah, if you're playing against it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a good choice. Yeah. That's a good shout. Cool. New player rating.
I like this one.
I like it. I do think it sits in silver, though, just because of the unknown nature of where you're going to end up with it. So, like...
Yeah. The fact that it happens after all of your reactions is really nice, because you're going to get, like, your full activation.
Yeah, absolutely. But you just don't know.
But you're going to... Who knows where you're going to end up.
But you can't plan... Like, you can't say with this deck, okay, I'm going to do this thing, and then I'm going to charge with another fighter, and that'll give me all my charge tokens.
Yeah.
Because you may not be there.
Right. To then do your activation. Although you'll be able to move still, so that's nice.
You will, but I think it's
you
just
may
going
not
to
get
be
your attack off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
You just have to embrace the chaos, I think.
Yeah.
With it.
I did not skip the new player rating this time.
You did not. You did a good job.
I didn't breakneck through it. So with that, I'll pass the virtual mic to Trace, who's going to walk us through the Force of Frost.
This deck.
And take us home.
This deck has me so excited for just a lot of reasons. One, I love spells. Spells are awesome. And this deck has a bunch of spells. Exactly half of the ploys are spells. Half are gambits that are spells, and the other ones are ploys. Yeah. Nice. So you can potentially not take any spells, or you can take all the spells and play a spell heavy deck. And there's a reason why you might want to take a spell heavy deck at some point when we get to some of these cards. But this is it's all themed around frost and ice, this whole thing. So I will kick us off with the first. There is no plot card. Not plot
locked.
Not plot locked. The first objective is Cold-Blooded Surge. Score this immediately after your warband takes an enemy fighter out of action and enemy fighter in enemy territory out of action. So kill an enemy fighter in enemy territory.
Yeah, you want that early because you want to make sure.
You want that early because it may not happen later.
No.
But this is Advancing Strike for those for ye olden days players who have been around for a while. This was a staple back in the aggro meta. Jason, why don't you bring us in with the second one? Which one do you like next?
I like the Biting Wind. Score this in end phase if there are no enemy fighters in your territory for 1 glory. Again, we want it early because we want to make sure that those pesky enemies are staying over there. And I'm going to net 1 glory.
Nice little 1 glory early denial.
Hopefully one of those fools that comes in with their breakneck cards gets bounced right back in their own territory.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right. And so the last objective that we think you want to see early is Glacial Cool. This is score this immediately after an opponent's power step if a friendly leader holds an objective within 1 hex of no one's territory. So kind of leaning into that, the hold within 1, right? It seems that the designers are pushing the game in that direction, trying to keep the action alive in the game. Your chances are better for this earlier, right? Your leader being alive. Your leader being in a place where they can get on an objective token within 1 hex of no one's territory. So, and not a bad surge. I do like the after an opponent's power step. So
yeah, there's a chance for denial there, like where your opponent can disrupt it up.
Yep. Jared, why don't you just bounce back and do a ploy while we're at it?
Yeah, no, that's good. I feel a little frozen to the spot.
Yeah.
Since you called me out like that.
Yeah.
So that's the card we're going to go with. So choose an enemy fighter after the chosen fighter's activation in which they made 1 or more move actions. Deal 1 damage to that fighter. This effect persists until the end of the phase or until that fighter is taken out of action. So this is a good control card, right? Like it can mean that your opponent just opts not to move that fighter for this round, which is probably good. It's probably better for you than not. But if they do choose to move that fighter, they're going to take 1 damage. And so that's going to put most fighters within 1 shot.
You know who hates this card?
Who hates this card?
Void Curse Thralls.
Oh, yeah, because they have all the move.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and it's each time they move. And remember, the charge super action is a move.
Yeah.
So
it is in their activation after the chosen fighter's activation.
Oh, that's fair.
Which they made 1 or more move actions. So it's not every time they make, like if you have a gambit to make a move action or something.
That would be bad. We don't want to do that.
Yep.
I will go next, and I will pick Icy Foreboding. Pick an opponent with one or more power cards. Oh, I like where this is going. That opponent picks one. They give one fighter in their warband that has no charge tokens, one charge token. Or they discard 2 power cards or 1 power card if they only have 1. All that sucks.
Yeah.
All of it. So as long as they're not burnt out. See what I did there?
Yeah.
They definitely will lose the rest of their power cards, but then you help them score burnt out.
Yeah. That's true.
I like the whole
it's
charge
that's
token
choice.
and attack
This
the hand.
reeks of blue Magic deck. That's what this is.
Yeah.
All right, I got the last one. Are you guys ready
Yeah, you
for a
do.
time trap?
I'm ready
What?
for a time trap.
Yeah. Here it comes. It's
not
called the
called
time
that anymore, is it?
freeze. It's not. But it's like we're in a time trap because we've seen this before.
That's
We sure
almost,
have.
but it's like better than time
It
trap.
is way
I think it's better.
it's really worded well now. So time freeze is the gambit. Play this only in your power step. So for clarification, that is after your activation is your power step. So you'd have to play it then. Choose 2 friendly fighters. Give each chosen fighter 1 ice counter, which I don't know if we've called out ice counters here. We do in any of the upgrades. We don't. There is some other, but there are benefits to having ice counters within this deck. So you get one of those and 1 guard token. So 2 fighters get a guard token if I play this card. In your next activation step, you must take the pass action. If your following activation step in your following activation step in the same phase, so it will not carry over round to round, it just is in the same phase, you can take 2 activations. In each of those activations, you must activate a different chosen fighter or pass. So you only can select the 2 fighters that you chose with this gambit.
Yep.
And you get 2 activations back to back. This is I think it's super cool. It is pretty balanced because your opponent is also going to get 2 activations in a row because you're taking a pass action. But if you play this, so if you go second and you play this after your second activation, you will skip your third activation, making your opponent go their third and their fourth, right? And then you will get to do your 4th activation with 2 activations, taking your 3rd and 4th to close out the round.
That's so good.
So they've already moved. They're already in position. There's no rebuttal.
Yeah.
Go. It is very cool. Now, if one of your fighters is taken out in their activations, you don't get to select another fighter. You lose that activation. So there's a cost. And I just love this card is so cool.
Yeah.
And
I think if you think about it this way, right? Yeah, you have to take the pass action, but since you give 2 fighters a guard token, you've really just taken a guard action with 2 separate fighters.
Yes.
If you look at it from that perspective,
and you've gotten to take that action before your opponent's activation.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
So you have 2 fighters on guard prior to your opponent's activation.
And you still get your power step.
Yep.
You still get your power step.
Yep. And there's all the things that come with being on guard, like you can't be driven back. All that stuff.
Yeah.
I love it.
Love
it. Love it. I love it. I love it.
It's so good.
It's pretty slick. Jared, just keep us going.
So we talked about ice counters.
Yeah.
So I think let's talk about a card that provides a benefit if you have ice counters. So this is the Frost Worm Cloak. You cannot give this to a large fighter. -1 damage to a minimum of 1 from attack actions that target this fighter while this fighter has 1 or more ice counters. Reaction. After this fighter's activation, give this fighter 1 ice counter. So put it on and put them on guard and give them an ice counter. Now they're -1 damage. Or you play time freeze, and so they get it already, and then you apply the upgrade, and so now not only are they on guard, but they're also -1 damage.
I think the biggest balancing factor on this is that you can't give it to a large fighter, but
yes,
really like that card. Just having -1 damage is just great.
It's pretty good.
Jason, what about you?
Oh, let me see. I think I'm going to stay with the darts here. So Blizzard Darts, which is an attack action upgrade, Range 3, 3 Fury for 1 damage. Reaction after this attack action, give this fighter 1 ice counter. Oh, I'm starting to see a theme.
Yep.
Nice.
It's getting
It's
chilly.
dark darts, but giving ice counters.
Giving ice counters.
All right. And I will bring us home, and I will cast an icy glare upon both of you. Reaction. After an enemy fighter's move action that ends within 2 hexes of this fighter, if that fighter's player has one or more cards in their one or more power cards in their hand than you, that player discards 1 power card.
Rough.
Oof. You end within 2 hexes. Let's see. I have 1 power card left. You have 2. Well, you got to get rid of one of those.
Yeah.
That's
pretty good.
That stinks. So I guess that wraps up, huh? That's it. That's all we got to talk about. Absolutely not.
Absolutely.
This is the best upgrade to ever be added to Underworlds. I'm just saying,
hands down,
100%.
No contest.
No contest. My favorite item ever is the Everwinter staff, aka the wizard hat,
for our Warhammer Fantasy players.
This is an attack action upgrade. It is range 2. It is 2 smash, and it is 2 damage.
Who cares?
I don't care. You cannot give this to a corn fighter. Why can't you give this to a corn fighter? This fighter is a wizard with a wizard level of 2. Unless it would be higher. So you mean to tell me I can stick this on Malog the Mighty and he becomes a level 2 smartest troll ever spellcaster? Yep. Is that good? Absolutely not. But I can do it, and that makes me happy.
Yes. Yeah. This is the perfect deck for this to go into. Yeah. It really gets around some of the things that we've seen with Rivals decks that are spell focused. For warbands that don't have a spellcaster, now you could have a way to kind of access the rest of the deck. But more importantly, the most efficient spellcasting warbands are the ones that have multiple wizards. And now you have a way to have multiple wizards in your warband, even if you come stock with one. So
Yep. Well, and I've kind of lovingly started calling warbands that have multiple wizards in them already. So like your Crimson Court, Stormsire, Domatan, the Electric Boogaloo, the zombies. There's 2 wizards in there. I've lovingly started calling this deck the Tri-Wizard Tournament deck because you can have 3 wizards in any warband that has 2 already, which is really cool.
Yeah. Like you could put this on Lassavir.
Put it on Lassavir.
And now you have 3 wizards in the Thricefold Discord. You can give it to Sephinir because Sephinir is not a beast,
and he can hold a staff.
So now you have a squizzard, if you will,
a squizzard who has a range 2 smash, 2 damage attack, but he can also help
cast
spells, and he can ink away.
Yeah, there's all kinds of cool little shenanigans you can do with this card. So, jokingly, I say it's the greatest card in the game, but this is just little things like this add so much utility to warbands who have, smaller level wizards or 2 wizards in the warband that want additional spell casting. And it's awesome. I'm very excited about that card. I'm very excited about that deck in general.
I really like it for 2 plus wizard warbands.
Yes, exactly.
I was thinking Godsworn Hunt. So
how's that? How's casting with the hunt gone for you in the past there, Jason?
It's great. It was fantastic.
It'll be great because Shondo Hondo will be a level 2 wizard.
And it gets inspired from it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. It's an upgrade.
It is.
This is unbreakable, unbeatable.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, so there's also some other little things that we want to touch on. I know we talked about the ice counters, but there are objectives in that deck that specifically cite ice counters or ice tokens. I think they're ice counters. actually.
Yeah, they're counters because they go on the fighter card.
Yeah,
So
not on the board.
So ice counters. There's one in there that if you have a fighter that has 3 ice counters on it, it's a 3 glory score. So it's a good call on there. There's also some callbacks from.
it's 2 glory.
Is it 2 glory?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
but still, it's 3 counters
Yeah.
for 2 glory. It's pretty good with the fact that you're getting a lot of ice counters from your upgrades. So
Yep. And then there's a couple ploys in there that give you some ice counters too. And then there's also 2 other like just little notable mentions of additional resilience and casting reliability in the deck too. So like there's other ways to make wizards that exist level 2 wizards in here.
If they're already a wizard,
they become wizard level 2, which is huge. So the Stormsires and the Domitans of the world who have potentially 3-2 level 2 fighters. I'm really excited about this deck. So playstyle is
so just to elaborate on a couple more things, just to call them out real quick. So you have a key if you have ice counters at the end of the 3rd action phase. If you have 1 or more, that's an additional glory. You have the Frozen Heart, which we talked about in the pre-show, which if you have ice counters, you can get +1 wound, which is always big in Nemesis or Rivals. You can get add stagger to your attack action with no range limitations. And if you have 3, you get Grievous 1. And it's not restricted to large fighters. So like you can put this on anyone and then kind of boost the weapons that are in this deck.
Yeah. This deck has a lot of really good upgrades in it. I'll just say that. There's a lot of really good upgrades. There's a spell attack action that's 2 focus, or it's a wizard level focus casting value, 3 damage, right?
2 damage and
2 damage. 2 damage and has cleave, that's right.
Yeah. So
but you gain an ice counter after, I think.
Yeah, a lot of ways to get ice counters. And there's really subtle, I don't want to say subtle, but there's a lot of cards that play off those ice counters, like you said, scoring glory. So
and placing block Texas. There's a lot of placing block Texas in this.
Yeah, it's all about the ice on this one. It is a Force of Frost. It is aptly named.
It is. I'm excited about that one. I think that there's a lot of good pairings for it. But what do we think about playstyle for this, guys?
Wizard.
So I think it's control casting.
Yep.
Control, like you're not trying to be on objectives. You're not necessarily trying to kill fighters. We showed examples of 2 of the gambits that are control style gambits where your opponent has to make a choice, or the upgrade where your opponent has to discard cards if you get too close. And then, like you said, there's 5 gambit spells in there. There's a surge in there. If you cast 4 spells in a phase, you get 2 glory. Surge.
Yep. And then there's also there's an interesting spell in there too that if you get it, it's a reaction spell. If you cast it, if the fighter dies, they take 2 damage.
Nice.
Yeah. So you can death blow somebody, which is cool.
Yep.
So boards, Jason, what do you think for boards? I think it's just going to be our normal answer of Warband specific, probably.
Yeah. It depends on how many fighters you have. So this one is very Warband specific. It's not even anything that we can really recommend. It's all about how many fighters you got.
Jared, how are you dealing with this deck?
Yeah, so there's a lot of scoring that keys off of ice counters, and the fighters that have ice counters have the opportunity to be even better. So you probably want to target those. And then outside of that, maybe if there's native level 2 wizards in the warband, try to take those out. Or if that Everwinter staff comes out, kill that fighter. Because you're going to hinder their ability to cast some spells. And you'll make Trace cry, so it'll be great.
Well, I'm not going to do that. I joke about it, but I'm not going to make my smartest troll ever deck.
Yeah. We could play Relic, and you could give him tomes.
Oh my gosh. There's a tome in this deck.
Does it have the tome keyword?
It has Cataphrane Tome at the top.
Oh my gosh. Nice.
Tomes are back in Relic.
They're back, baby.
And that
That's
tome
awesome.
does some nasty stuff too.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things. It breaks upgrades. So, and then what are we on? New player rating?
Yep.
Yeah, because we already talked about warbands you want to use. So
yeah, it's silver.
Yeah, I think it really is. I think it works like it in and of itself. And so this may be.
I'm interested, kind of like what you're going to do, Jason. I'm interested to try this just straight up by itself.
Yeah.
With a couple warbands to see how it does. Just to get a feel for it.
I think the objectives keep it from being a gold, right? So like the gold would be like take this warband or take this deck and slam it with a warband and it functions really, really well. That is the case especially if you have wizards, but some of the objectives are just it's not going to be as straightforward for a new player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Because you got to get ice counters, you got to get block Texas out.
Yeah. So and it's a little bit everywhere, like especially when you have a casting like cast forward, like you have to know when to burn your resources to do that. So
right.
I think the interesting thing about this deck too is that it has potential to be a really good, like, I know this is going to trigger Jason, but to be a splash deck
for championship.
Not even that. Like if you have a really strong warband deck, like if there's some really strong warband cards in your deck already, and you know that you can rely on mostly that, you can splash a couple of these cards in there and be.
Yeah, I think
about like GSP, right?
Yeah.
Or Domatan.
Yeah, I think it's more Domatan and Mirror's Purifiers, I think.
Yeah, Mayari is a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, so.
And you don't even really have to lean into the spellcasting. Like, there's a lot of things in there for spellcasting, but those upgrades that we were talking about, like, you get a 2 shield defense, but if you're not a wizard, it doesn't matter. Like, you still get an ice counter, I think.
Listen,
activate.
I'm just going to bring back Thorns of the Briar Queen. That's it.
Oh, nice.
Varklov is now
a wizard. Yeah. The hanged one.
Yeah. And they would love those. They would love some of the defensive upgrades too in there.
Yep.
Anyway, we've gone through every warband for the entire game now.
We have. Yeah, I've listed 40 of the 60 available. So go us.
I'm glad to hear that you're very. Yeah, I'm glad to hear you're very excited about this deck, Trace. I think out of all the Rivals decks that we've reviewed, this one has you the most excited to build multiple iterations with multiple warbands for. But with that, we'll wrap this up and we'll come back for the outro.
And we're back, and that will wrap up the actual 54th episode of the Battle Mallet podcast. Again, we just want to say thank you to Games Workshop for sending us out a copy of Deathgorge early to review. So we appreciate that. You can find us on socials if you want to see pictures of what we're up to, kind of follow along with our journey. We are Battle Mallet Podcast on Facebook. We are Battle Mallet 1 on Twitter/X, and we are Battle Mallet PCast on Instagram. Gosh, we got to get that fixed. I don't think it's ever going to happen.
It's not.
We also, I did an unboxing, so you'll be able to find that in our blog, and we're not sure where it's going to be hosted yet, but you'll find the link in the blog. The link will be in the show notes, and then you can check the blog for this episode that accompanies it as well to see all of the cards that are available, including the ones that we reviewed. And so just keep an ear out for further episodes. And as soon as we have access to the deck builders, to Underworlds DB, once it's updated, we'll put links to decks built with these warbands and these Rivals decks into our Nemesis deck library. And as always, if you have a deck that you would like to share with the community, please reach out. You can find us on our Discord. The link to our Discord is in the show notes, or find us on any of the socials that I mentioned. So for the Battle Mallet podcast, we are a thrice-fold accord.
Oh my goodness. I thought he was going to go with that, with your wizard deck thing with the 3 wizards, but
the Tri-Wizard tab.
Yeah, the Tri-Wizard tournament.
Triwizard Tournament. Yeah.
That's good. I'll take a thrice fold.
Accord. Not a lot of Discord in this podcast, thankfully. So this is Jared signing out.
This is Trace, and I'm just chilling.
Oh, I thought he was going to go with I Gotta Go Pack again. And I'm Jason Table New Murray. Get the hell out of here.
Peace.
Go Bills.
The Battle Mallet podcast is protected under the Creative Commons license. If you have further questions as to its use, you can find more information via links on podcast.battle-mallet.com. Music by Anno Domini Beats.
We just need to get a hold of the book that she reads in
Yeah. Oh, there's a whole wiki on it.
Oh, there is, yeah.
Sure.
Known jokes in the book.